And greetings everyone. You're joining my maintenance session for the Stinger 2. This applies to all machines that use the Marlin firmware. This is the Marlin PID Autotune procedure you'll see above. You can download their G-code sheet, which will kind of help you follow along with some of the commands that are scrolling by on the screen. It's a pretty handy thing to have. We're going to start out doing this in real time. We're going to start out putting that command on the screen. I will explain to you what that means while the hot end is heating up, going through its heating up stage. We'll have a little bit of time for that. As you can see, we went to the temperature plot tab in your simplified 3D. I'm not sure which other programs have this graph like this, but we're noticing that temperature climbing on the hot end only. We did not set this for the bed at all. That's done in a separate session. The most important thing is the hot end though, and we're going to watch that while it goes through the 8 cycles that we programmed into it. The C8 was a command, the cycles command, which tells you how many cycles it will test. And you want to see a nice straight line on this. Normally when it's going through its calibration stages, that line doesn't necessarily have to be perfectly straight. That line you're going to want to see straight after it calibrates. So it does this on purpose. It overshoots our temperature of 200, which was also in that command. We gave it a command for 200. So it's thinking right now. It's going through this test. It purposely goes high and then low, and it's gauging how quickly the hot end gets to that temperature while it's doing it. So it's not necessarily trying to get there right now, but it's testing what it needs to do. It's I would characterize it by testing the mass of your heater block, or the mass of, say for instance, your material coming into it and how quickly it needs to heat it. It's got a lot of things to consider when it does this. So in my statement at the beginning, I say that it's your system's artificial intelligence, and it's basically the closest your printer is going to get to artificial intelligence, or that it is close to artificial intelligence. This is a pretty neat thing, and I go into a lot of forums and troubleshoot problems for people, especially beginners, and I always get the blank deer stare in the headlights when I mention the PID Autotune. As did I when I first started printing. I had no understanding of what it was, but having PIDs in my shop for a wax heater and for my ceramic kiln runs on a PID. What it does is it really stabilizes that temperature within a degree or two. In this case, we want to stay about within a degree on that hot end to keep your plastic flowing while you're printing. So like I say, we're not trying to make that line straight right now, but when we do our print, we'll do a test print when this is over, and we'll see how this calibration relates to your hot end while it's doing a print. One other thing I'd like to add while it's doing this is this is very important to do. I found this to be important to do at least every week or two. I have an E3D genuine hot end, and I find that heater block is pretty robust on that. The hotter the temperatures that you're asking that heater cartridge to go, that ceramic heater cartridge, the shorter the lifespan of that heater cartridge. And when you buy these 3D clone E3Ds, you're going to get a substandard, in most cases a substandard or a lesser quality heater for those. And I would generalize those by saying that they'd be good for doing maybe your PLA prints, something where you're right around 200 degrees, but when you start getting up into the 250, you're going to substantially shorten the life of that heater cartridge. So you'll want to really be paying attention to doing this quite often. This is a real important maintenance thing to perform on your printer. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the screen. You'll see the top temperature line is starting to drop there. We're going to go to the Communications tab, and we're going to take a look at what happened. We've got the verbose turned off, the little box in the upper right corner, and we're just looking at what happened during this 8 cycles where it went through there, and it's giving back the feedback temperature and the PID readings. And if we're happy with that, which I see no reason why not, everything went pretty good, we're going to put an M500 and we're going to save that into the memory. Okay, you'll see down here, settings stored, and you'll see what it read at the bottom. Okay, once we're happy with that, we'll go and turn our temperatures up on the dashboard here. We are on the jog control page. We are going to set at 215 and 60 on the bed. I'm actually preparing for a print here. So we're just going to go back now to the, I'm going to pull this up. We're going to go back to the temperature plot tab on here as soon as I get done setting up a print. Okay, so we're looking at the verbose. I'm going to turn that on so that we get a constant temperature readout on here as well as our graph. This will give us the numbers and it'll tell us what the hot ends are doing. So here we've got a temperature graph, and this is its first attempt at stabilizing the temperature. And as you can see, it's still learning. It's going through a bit of a learning process while it does this. You should be able to see, well, once this stabilizes and you go back to this, or when you put a print on, you'll go to this actual temperature plot page, and you'll see it'll come up pretty stable after your first rundown of temperatures, or your first print, I should say. And you'll see as we go, as it keeps sampling, it's still adjusting. As it's sampling, it's getting very close to that line, and we should be within 1 degree, a half a degree on each side of your set temperature. And we're going to go ahead and check that out in the script when this is finished here. And we're going to pull up on the script, and we'll take a look at that. With the verbose on, it keeps giving us a constant reading. We're going to let it stabilize. And just give it a little chance to hone in on its temperature here. As you'll see, the 215, it's going back and forth from 214, basically 4.8 or 5, to 215 and change on here. The reason we're still getting a read on here, the bed is trying to heat up. We're almost up to 60 degrees on the bed. We're at 44 and change to 60 of 60 on the bed. So we're going to freeze this so you can take a look at these numbers. I'll go up and freeze the verbose on here, and we'll just look these numbers over. Okay. It's real good that you learn how to read the numbers on the screen. The graph will give you a picture of it. I just shut this off to freeze it. So if you look at the top of the screen, you've got 215.15, and you go all the way, scroll all the way down through, and it never gets any lower than 214.51 or any higher than 215.04. Let's see, 04 it looks like, 215.08 on there. So you've got a real stable temperature. Anyway, I hope everyone got something out of this, and the trick of this is to get familiarized with it and comfortable with it so you can do it often and make it part of your weekly maintenance on your machine. I appreciate you guys being here, and if you have any questions or ideas, I'm Dave Aschenbrenner, technical at 3dprinttoform.com. Thank you.